Welcome back, YouTube. I'm in a junkyard. It's almost spring here in Canada, but I want to do a second video on this Honda Accord. Yes, it's going to be, I guess, around early 90s. Sometimes you can see the plate, maybe a 94. Airbag. Interesting. So I want to pay tribute to something very special, and it's not because I did own actually a Civic of the same generation, but I did mention a few things in other videos with these years of Hondas, and I will go very in detail to the dashboard, to the stalks too, and maybe to other details inside the cabin. Obviously this is going to be a bit of a rough car. I'll show you maybe inside the engine bay, but I was saying, I think in other videos, to me these cars, maybe it's not the only one in the market, Honda, but for sure Honda was one of those. These cars are just the top of the car design, modern era car design. If you take cars from after 80s, 90s to 2020, we are in 23 right now, I believe this is perhaps on the top of the best designs, both outside, inside, and actually handling as well. There is something special about these cars, and I'm just figuring out if Mr. Putin is not going to launch a few nukes over us, which you cannot really tell at this moment. Maybe someone, when most of the cars on the street are going to be either electric, nuclear, or whatever else, new forms of energy, someone is going to try to restore one of these gasoline engines. Being in Canada, this is going to be only gasoline engines, and just willing to feel again that gasoline engine driving car, just the feeling of it. Maybe in 2050, 2060, 70, who knows, and maybe someone is going to be just salivating, trying to find parts for their reconstruction or the rebuilding of this car, but of course at that point it's going to be too late. Now let's go back to the main subject. There is something very special, and I'm not sure. First off, this is not my main camera, so it's going to be a bit shaky. It doesn't have a good stabilization. So hopefully it appears in the video. You see, when you see my junkyard playlist many times, and I think this is the most common item I talk about is design. I'm not sure if it appears in the video image as it appears when I'm here, right here, and I look to this thing. There is some sort of a perfection in the lines, in the geometry, in the distances, in the angles, in the dimensions. There is some sort of a perfection, and you don't have to be a designer or something like this, or you're working in the automotive industry. I don't. But you really, if you just look at it, you really notice that thing. I think what happens, and by the way, these were '90s, early 90s, that the founder of Honda, I don't really know his name, or whatever his name, Japanese, he died in about 92, 93 or something. And that's about the last year where you can find a real Honda. Sorry, that's a lot of noise from the crusher. So these are the last years where the Honda was a Honda, in my opinion. 95 and up, it just started to went downhill, lower material, cheaper material, so on. And that's also about the time the Mr. I always forget his name. Mr. Honda basically died. So maybe after he died, the company said, you know, the manager and stuff said, okay, now we can break loose, because he was a perfectionist actually. And that's why we got well, yeah, that's why the market got these products, these amazing products, because that Honda guy was pushing the company to perfection. Basically, I'm not really a perfectionist guy. I don't actually like the idea of being perfect or something, trying to do something perfect. but when you see a result, you realize there is a lot of work going on here, a lot of work which basically does not repeat on other cars today. See, the console here has a negative angle, it moves at the bottom towards the front of the car. But when you look at this plastic, first of all, this is going to be a long and annoying video for many of you, but I'm not making a video for the majority of the people. I really want to point the things that I really care about them. So don't watch this video thinking, oh, yet another, one of those YouTube videos saying this and saying that. I'm not going to say what other people say. If you look at this, even the plastic color here, it's a kind of a black. And by the way, this is Burgundy, I think. It's a kind of red wine interior, very rare even in Canada. Honda had a few colors, weird colors. I think this kind of red wine, dark red wine. There was a blue one, not exactly my kind, but if you look at the color of this plastic, it's black. It's a certain tint of black and also it has kind of a shine to it. It's matte but does have a small shine. All this appears really, it's very pleasant to look at this piece of plastic. It's really weird to say that, but it's very pleasant. And see, this part here is matte, the knob, it's actually shiny, it's glossy, so it really pops the image of it. It's just, you cannot be indifferent to this. You cannot just overlook it. This is what made these cars pleasant to own, actually, because when you will look inside, these lines were so perfect that it was just beautiful to sit inside the car, not just driving it, beautiful to sit. So this one is soft plastic. I never liked this kind of storage area. I wish it was regular flat, but that was a choice of design. But even these lines have just a dimensioning, a geometry to them in this shape. And by the way, this is the same shape, if I'm not wrong, that you will find in the what is the sports car. It's pretty much the same idea of design. Steering wheel, I'm going to go on the other side to show you the display. And also the stalks, but look at this space inside. It's very curious. At this junkyard here, usually we have cars no younger than 10 years old, so maybe cars up to 2010, 12 or so. But when I go in other cars, inside another cars, modern cars, I just don't find this amount of space. Is the ergonomy and the geometry and the design that makes it looking very spacious. It's nothing that makes you feel you're tight or something like this. There is just a lot of space. The car itself is not big inside. It's not, I wouldn't call it small inside, but it is not that big, and yet it does feel spacious. And I'm really highlighting this word. It does feel spacious. Even the angle of the windshield, the way it goes there, this distance of the dash, actually, it just does feel spacious. And also look at the line of the roof, what is the engine bay lid, or it's just all very balanced and visually very pleasant. It's just interiors. I was speaking on other videos about the seats. I absolutely like this design of seat. The only thing I don't like, and this is true for all old cars, is that the seats is so low to the floor. My knees are so high up, and it's just not a comfortable body position. The seat itself is very nice. You got an armrest in this model, and look at the design of the seat. It's almost perfection to look at it. It's also comfortable, but the looks of the seat is just amazing. Basically this was like a landmark, this design. Let's just go on the other side. I'll throw a bit of engine bay area at some point. Maybe want to have a look from behind, behind rear seats. It's tight here, for me at least. I'm 6 feet tall. But I don't know if you are you have memories sitting in these cars as a child. Maybe take a look, and this was the view that you had back then. A very, very pleasant, I think the best, I mean, the overall, the shape of the car, it's excellent. The interior, the spacious, feels spacious, feels very balanced. There's nothing really special except perhaps for the storage. There is no something that is annoying to look at inside this car. It's just like, it's hard to say. It's like a nice dressing on a guy or on a lady. It just looks like that. It's insane. It's just, this is why I'm making this video. It doesn't make sense to me, because after these times, and even the next generation went just downhill like this, all this beauty, all this was lost. I couldn't find it in any other car since then. All car makers, all brands included. Maybe let's look and also look at the headlights. It's just amazing. By the way, this is glass. This is not plastic. They don't mess with plastic at those times. Look at the line of the headlights. This one is plastic, but this one is glass. So it's insane. It's amazing. Even those small kind of strips. Look at the dimension, the cut here. This is perfection. I can tell you, if you just ask a designer, an industrial designer guy or girl, ask them how long does it take to design such part. It's not 2 hours, I can tell you. It could be maybe weeks or months, because if you want to achieve something like this, you really need to do it over and over and over again. Now, one of the things I overlooked, unfortunately, in my other videos with Honda was the stalks. Yes, tell me if you find another video on YouTube that talks about stalks. Why I'm doing that? Because I can see this was a lot of work into this very small piece here. And okay, you are going to say, I warned you at the beginning of the video, you are going to say, dude, take a pill or something. No, I'm not going to take it. There is something very special. In my opinion, this is the best, not just the best stalk ever made. It's something that goes beyond a standard component. It's like I'm not saying bring it to a museum, but surely for a car museum, yes, absolutely. Go take one from the junkyard and bring it to a car museum to show what someone really brilliant can do. And it's also a matter of design here. It's not just a mechanical component. So I don't remember having seen this click in other cars ever since. And it's smooth. There's no grabbing. The whole area here, look at the cut here. This cut here, it's asymmetrical. It's not symmetrical. It's more, this is more a sharp edge. This is more a round edge. This is insane. This is literally insane. It's brilliant. I do remember when I had that Honda Civic, I do remember having that pleasure to just touch this thing and just switch it. And when you have something that is really nice, you don't realize that it's nice until you lost it, basically. And that's why I remember these times. So, and also the same color, it's a different tint of black here. This one is kind of shiny, but it's really in between shiny and matte. But it's the tint, the shade of, it's not really, well, it's black, but it's not full black. If you see the shades of black on the steering, on the stall, on this trim, all of them are different. It's like a symphony of colors here, and it's black colors. I'm not talking yellow, red. It's just impressive, absolutely impressive what's going on here. Let's go for the other stock. Unfortunately, I cannot turn the steering wheel, so let's see how to film this thing. Maybe this way? No, that's the best angle to have. The same click. It's the same nice, soft, not too hard, and also I drive a Hyundai Sonata again. When I need to turn the start, to turn the engage the blinks, it's kind of it makes like a garbage noise. It's so annoying, and this one is perfection. Look, let me just let you listen to this. This is beautiful. I mean, it's pleasant, I believe. If you allow me to go this way, this much extreme, the stars are the best feature in this car, and it's awkward to say that, but I think they are. And maybe you wonder, why is that so? Because besides the steering wheel, and by the way, I don't know if this, I don't think this was leather, but it definitely, it looks like leather, but it's so cool, so nice to feel this material here. And actually it's quite soft and it's very grippy. It's not matte, it's not shiny, it's something in between. The texture, it's like leather. It's amazing. So it's a matter of beauty here, basically. Being at the junkyard, I'm just checking BMWs, I'm checking Infiniti cars, Audi, Mercedes. I had the chance to check one of those Mercedes, like Lady Diana Mercedes. I don't know what the name of the series are. Yes, that one is a different league. It's a very different league. It doesn't compare to a Honda. Actually, the Honda doesn't compare to that one, but obviously we are not talking the same price here. So for the price, these cars were just impressing. And one last thing, I was describing this more in another video. The design of this instrument panel, it's how to put this thing, it's a part that I wish I could remove it and bring it to my living room and just watch it every day. I'm not talking about the working part, just watching the design, watching these lines, watching the I was saying this in another video, the spacing between the lines, the thickness of the lines, the digits, the characters, everything is just beautiful. I doubt this is going to be something you'll see in another car. This is perfection here, what I'm talking about. So take a good look. We are going to lose this forever. It's really sad to see these things going. Okay, let's just go maybe to engine and maybe a bit of rear of the car. Right now this is really sheer ice, and I already took a fell once. I did slip on ice, I broke my elbow, so be very careful. If you see this kind of condition, maybe use some whatever those things on the boots so you don't slide. Look at the rear tail lights. Again, very nice shape. All the lines here are perfect. It's just perfection. I cannot call it something else. It's absolutely perfection. Also, they are very known, these cars, for very nice handling, because it has independent suspension front and rear. This is a ball joint here at the rear wheels. There's a trailing arm. ST4 well lugs in those times. Yeah, quite a bit of rust, obviously. The rock here is gone. Front suspension also quite complicated. Look at this. That's the torsion bar right there, but I don't know what this was, a control arm or something. I don't remember exactly the names. It's like a fork going in there, and then you have a second, let's call it control arm, with a ball joint. That's a plate right there. It's a very was quite advanced suspension. Maybe it was also actually from the racing, maybe even F1 racing. Now, one of the things, I did talk about these engines at some point, but one of the things that made this car special, and it's more or less easy to see. If I look at the front frame right here, the cross member, there's also a rear frame member. Well, this frame actually is not a subframe. It's attached rigid, is like secure with the car body with bolts. So there is no subframe bushings on these cars. The engine is mounted directly on the frame of the car if you want, and this means you had the feeling of the engine that today, because most of the cars today have a subframe with bushings, you had the feeling of the engine that it's impossible to reproduce in modern cars. So this was yet another thing that made this car special to drive. The fact that you feel the engine. Obviously this had a wire throttle body, wire gas pedal. You felt the engine, you could feel it, you could feel the car actually, and also you could feel the body of the car, because the body is back then. This is something kind of how to say, just walking on this ice. This may appear contradictory, but because the bodies back then, people say chassis. This is not a chassis. Chassis for the trucks. This is car body. The bodies of these cars, obviously back then, we are talking early 90s, they were not that stiff. If you crash in this car back then, it wasn't a good idea. Modern cars have much stiffer bodies, which makes them also more resistant in impacts. Also, I don't know, maybe less vibrations, less noise and stuff like this. But because these cars had a more flexible body, you could actually feel the car in your steering. It's not just because the steering was hydraulic assisted. It's like a manual steering rack assisted, but not electric. It's just that you could feel the body of the car when you would turn the steering. So it was very engaging, and it's just you are in contact with the car, both with the steering wheel, through the steering wheel, through the gas pedal. You could feel the engine, you feel the car, you feel the suspension, the steering. Even if it's assisted hydraulically, you could still feel the car. It had a feeling. So this is something that again has been lost in modern cars. So it's sad to see these things go. For me, I think if someone is young and never experienced these cars the way they felt, you cannot understand what I'm talking about. But for those of my age, you remember perhaps that these cars were engaging to drive. I'm not saying they were kart cars or something like these sports cars. No, that's not the point. It's just that you could feel the car, and you could also see the car because it was very nice design. This was the magic of those times. This was the reason basically I and many other YouTubers are making videos on these old models. So it's something that has been lost, and it's really sad to see this thing, these characteristics, if you want, going and disappearing forever. Okay. Thanks for your patience, and I'm going to dare say thank you, Mr. Honda, for bringing these things to life and creating these things. And I just want to recognize your work. He's dead now, obviously, but I just want to recognize your work, the way it was, the achievement it produced, because I think these things were really an achievement in car industry. Thanks for watching.